Hello everyone, this next game I'm about to show you was played in 1962 Soviet Team Championship between the one and only Nezhmetdinov and Oleg Chernikov. And in my opinion, the beauty of this game can rival that of any game in chess history. Well, I'll have to show it to you, and then you can decide for yourselves. Nezhmetdinov is white and Oleg Chernikov is black. So let's see this game. Rashid plays e4, c5, knight to f3, knight c6, d4, c captures on d4, knight captures on d4, the Sicilian defense. We have g6, knight to c3, bishop to g7, bishop to e3, knight to f6, bishop to c4, black castles, bishop to b3. And if you've seen my game between Bobby Fischer and Ruben Fine, maybe you remember that in this position Ruben played knight to a5, going for this light square bishop, and Fischer destroyed it with this e5 move. But in this game, Oleg Chernikov chose a different approach. In this game, Chernikov played knight to g4. He decided to go for this dark square bishop on e3, and also he opened up the attack on this knight on d4. So on knight to g4, Nezhmetdinov plays queen captures on g4, knight captures on d4, and now queen to h4. So Chernikov plays queen to a5, pinning that knight on c3, and Rashid castles. So in this position, we have bishop to f6, and in this position, Oleg Chernikov thought that Nezhmetdinov would probably realize that this is a drawn position and he would offer a draw. So as the story goes, Chernikov went for a walk and he was enjoying his stroll and checking out some of the other games. And he thought that, the only thing Nezhmetdinov can play is probably queen to h6. I'll just repeat bishop to g7, then again queen to h4, and I'll repeat bishop to f6. And if he plays something like queen to g3, well, then Chernikov has this idea of playing queen to c3. And after the queen is captured, then knight to e2 check. So we have king to h1, grabbing the queen. And this is better for black, as white's pawn structure is all messed up. But even if this is playable for white, it would still be a very long drawn game, probably. So after Chernikov played this bishop to f6 move, the story goes that Rashid was thinking about the position for some 40 minutes, and that a very excited boy ran over to Chernikov, and he said, mister, he sacrificed his queen. And as Chernikov rushed back to the table, he saw that Rashid played queen captures on f6. And this is a move, I always look for these kind of moves, and I don't think I would play this or even get an idea like this. So let's see how the game continues. Obviously, Oleg Chernikov will accept the queen, but first he plays knight to e2 check, just to discoordinate white's pieces for a bit. So knight captures on e2, and only now e captures on f6. And Rashid brings his knight back, knight to c3. And okay, look at this position. If you ask an engine will say, okay, black is better. But, okay, you have your queen on a5 as black, but white has these two bishops eyeing that king on g8. And he has a potentially very dangerous knight that's ready to jump to d5. Nothing can oppose him. And black's rooks are undeveloped. His bishop is still undeveloped. And, let's see how Chernikov handles this. So Chernikov plays rook e8, and Rashid defends this pawn on e4 actively. He plays knight to d5. So now the pawn can be captured because of knight f6 check. So Chernikov plays rook to e6, and now Rashid plays bishop to d4, again going for that f6 pawn. So we have king to g7, defending the pawn, and we have rook a to d1, activating this rook. So we have d6, preparing to develop the bishop, and Rashid plays rook to d3, prepares for a nice rook lift to f3. Bishop to d7, and now rook to f3, again going for that f6 pawn. So we have bishop to b5, attacking the rook on f1, but Rashid first plays bishop to c3, attacking the queen on a5. The queen moves to d8 to help with the defense of the f6 pawn. And now we have knight captures on f6. So we have bishop to e2, and in this position, this was probably the losing move, bishop to e2. in here, black has to admit that he's not better and that he should probably play something like rook a to c8 and, well, continue this game. But he plays bishop to e2, and after bishop to e2 allows Rashid Nezhmetdinov to play this beautiful move, knight captures on h7. And what's the idea of knight captures on f7? Well, if you look at this position, if the knight is captured, then look at this strong bishop's diagonal and look at this rook going to h3. It would be extremely dangerous for black. So Oleg Chernikov plays king to d8, king to g8, and now Rashid plays rook to h3. So we have rook to e5. Oleg Chernikov would love to exchange this rook for this amazingly strong dark square bishop, but Rashid plays f4. He's not interested in the rook. So Chernikov plays bishop captures on f1, and king captures on f1, and still now this rook is attacked on e5 by the pawn. So we have rook to c8, and now again Rashid does not capture the rook with the f pawn, but he plays bishop to d4. He's protecting this bishop like it's made of gold. So we have b5, and now we have knight to g5. We have rook to c7, protecting that f7 pawn. And this is where Rashid goes all out. He plays bishop captures on f7 with check. Rook captures on f7, and now we have rook to h8, check. King captures on h8, and now knight captures on f7, forking the king, the queen, and the rook on e5. So king to h7, Rashid grabs the queen on d8, rook captures on e4, knight to c6, protecting the bishop, rook captures on f4 with check, king e2, and in this position, Oleg Chernikov finally resigned. And if you look at this position, white has two pieces for the rook, and he's also a pawn up. But black has 3 pawn islands, and well, it will be impossible to play this, as 2 pieces by themselves are stronger than the rook, and white's pawns are much better. So yeah, an amazing game, and what an amazing guy, Rashid Nezhmetdinov. Lev Polugaevsky said once that he beat Nezhmetdinov at least 12 times, but the one game that he lost to Nezhmetdinov was so beautiful that he would trade all of his 12 other games just to be on the side of the board when Rashid defeated him, to have those pieces. And Mikhail once said that losing his game against Nezhmetdinov in 1961 was probably the best day of his life. So yeah, I don't think I will ever do a video solely about Rashid Nezhmetdinov, as